Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Flying Solo with Kat. And we are finally tackling the Rise of Skywalker comic series. Thank God. I bought these comics pretty consistently through their run. There is only 5. This one is kind of weird because it was announced right after the Rise of Skywalker got released, with this amazing cover as a teaser. And then it never came out and it was canceled. And everyone was kind of like, is it ever going to come out? Like, what is the issue with it? Like, especially when you're doing an adaptation from a movie to a comic or even a book. Like, there shouldn't be that big of a struggle. The novelization of The Rise of Skywalker was already released and stuff. So I don't know if there was an issue with the publisher. They didn't know what they wanted to do. There's a couple things that they added. And there's a couple things that they just didn't put in that I think they should have, but we will talk about that today. So join me on this amazing adventure and let's talk about the Rise of Skywalker. Woo! So first cover, I don't even know if you guys can see it. I think you can. Basically, issue 1 covers Mustafar to Pisana, which I think is such a great kind of blockage. How they start off with splitting it up into 5 different issues, I think is great. I think it starts to fall through once you get to the older ones. There's also this cover that came out, which I absolutely love so much. A lot of people don't like the artist that does these comics. Also, I showed you just issue 2. This is issue 1, which is absolutely beautiful and stunning. Everything with Rey, I think they draw Rey so beautifully, and she's one of those characters that just has that composition that makes it really nice and pretty to draw as an artist myself. Let's talk about issue 1 though. Not a lot happens. Pride and Huxine is gone. So Kylo is just on Mustafar and it's like 1 page. And then if y'all know, there was a deleted scene with Pride and Hux that were basically talking about like Kylo and like his, unbridled rage. Yeah, it was very, very saucy. And it's in the novelization of The Rise of Skywalker, which is really interesting, and one of the reasons why I think the novelization of the movie is super, super good. I think it's actually almost better than the movie because it adds a lot of things in and a lot of context that you miss when you're watching the movie. And that's kind of how I felt about for the Force Awakens novelization. I've yet to read The Last Jedi novelization. I need to do that. I've read parts of it, but for both The Rise of Skywalker and The Force Awakens, I think their novelization does well. I also have the comic version of The Force Awakens, which I should do a review on because it's pretty standard. I mean, it's fine. It's not anything crazy, but it is what it is. So Kylo's on Mustafar. We don't even see, like, the weird spider thing, too, that he talks to. That's just completely removed as well, which I thought was really weird. If you're gonna do that in a comic, like, this would be the one comic to do that for. Basically shows him getting the holocron and like that's it. So it's kind of like, why would you even show that scene then? Like in the movie it's such more impactful with Kylo being there, like finding that holocron, going, like bringing I think it's the supremacy. No, the supremacy explodes. I think it's the fuel matrix? I don't know. Again, I've not watched Rise of Skywalker in a hot minute because I just... Rereading these comics, I kind of realized a lot of the issues with The Rise of Skywalker, which always sucks because I want to love this movie so much. And if you guys love this movie or even like it, like, tell me your reasons because I want to know why. See if I can kind of see the point of view because Yeah, it's a little rough. The Leia and Rey parallels are top notch in this comic. I will say, or this run, there are pages that really take not only the dyad but the parallels of each characters really, really well. Again, I'm gonna show you another scene of it, if you can see. Um, and just how it does that is really, really interesting, and it just adds another layer between Rey and Leia that I think wasn't as shown in The Rise of Skywalker, in a sense. What I also love about this is that Leia does get some added scenes. If anything where it was to be added, it should have been Leia, and it was, thankfully. Leia and Maz have a couple of scenes together, as well as Leia with the other Resistance trio. Again, I can't really fault the movie Rise of Skywalker for that because of our amazing Carrie Fisher and how she wasn't there to perform. And I think that they did what they had to do. I still don't understand why people are mad that, like, JJ, like, made her die. It's like, to save her son. I'm like, guys, there wasn't much he could have done for that. It's kind of how, like, there were some people that were mad about, like, Chadwick Boseman's death and how that played into Black Panther 2. And it's like, guys, like, there's not much they can do with still trying to be respectful of not only the actor, but the family. And with Carrie, like, it was a lot more interconnected with the family type thing. And, like, besides Billie Lourd, her daughter, who is amazing. So I like that they showed those scenes in this comic run. It was really, really nice to have that. Rose is sidelined again. This was, like, my first time where I was like, oh, that's right. This is why I don't like... this is one of the reasons why I don't like this movie. She doesn't really get any added scenes. She maybe gets, like, one added piece of dialogue, but it's not enough for me to be like, okay, she is really solidifying herself in the story. Again, I blame JJ for that. There's not much more that we could have done about that, but yeah, it does kind of make me, like, sad. I'm just like, you could have, like, had her with another scene with Leia, or, like, added a little bit more. I don't know. It is just so sad because I love Rose Tico. She's one of my favorite characters from not only The Last Jedi, but I really like her in the comics. She's just really spunky and fun, and has the serious side to her when she's working with the Resistance crew that they're just all over the place, and Rose is just put together, and I love that. It's a great contrast. Same art style. Again, as I was saying before, the covers are amazing. Like, the covers are absolutely stunning and beautiful. What I will say is the inside art, that's where that has a different story. These comics are made... I'm not even going to go through this whole story again, because I talked about that with the Kylo and Hux comic a couple months ago. Yeah, a couple months ago. And at the end of the day, you just gotta suck it up. You're, like, yes, a comic is for the visuals. I understand that. But for me, like, I don't know. I'm paying $3 for a comic. Like, maybe it's price difference. This isn't Dark Horse, I don't believe. I don't actually know who the artist is, because I don't care enough to, like, really... Like, some scenes aren't bad. They're not, terribly drawn. They're just over-exaggerated, which sometimes, like, people like that in comics, and then other times it's just like, why are we doing what we're doing? It doesn't make a lot of sense. So, overall, I don't have an issue with the art. I mean, there's a couple scenes where I'm just like, okay, we could have maybe done a little bit better on that, but it's not anything that's absolutely crazy. It's interesting because the comic also, because we get to Pisana, the comic does show some added Lando visuals with Luke, which again, was not talked about at all in The Rise of Skywalker. And that's kind of because they didn't know how they wanted Lando to, like, be connected with Luke. They kind of alluded to it, but they didn't have a full story. Now we have the book, and I think a comic series as well, correct me if I'm wrong, that talks about their journey through that. So I think that's important, and to show that visually is really nice. Again, it kind of adds something to it, and you see that a lot more, but especially with the original trio. And I don't know if, like, the comics artist or the writers were just like, screw it, like, I want to put some OT characters in this story, so maybe people will like it. I don't know. I don't think that's me being over the top about it. I don't think it's that deep. It is just interesting of, like, how often they show up, but I don't hate it. I don't think it's anything bad at all. So we have the knife, the Sith knife, whatever, where she goes, horrible things have been done with this weapon. And that line pissed a lot of people off, because it's like, okay, what things though? Like, how do you even know that horrible things have been done with this weapon? And what I like about in this comic is that it actually shows a scene with Ochi and with Rey's parents, and Rey's parents just, like, fearful of their life. So you can connect the dots of, okay, this blade actually killed her parents. That's really interesting. Again, something that we don't get in the movie, but the comic elevates to another level. This is why I like comics, and this is why I think comic adaptations of things are really, really good when you have an opportunity. I just don't understand why they took some liberties with some things and then others would not. Like, for me, I'm still stuck on, like, why did you not visually show the Hux and Pride scene on Mustafar? It is in the novelization. Why did you not do that? I'm still stuck on that. I'm sorry, guys. But it's just, like, as well as, like, the Kylo scene with the little spider dude that gives them the holocron. It's just, like, why wouldn't she put that in the comic where you could show that visually in a really cool way? But it is what it is. Yeah, lots of action in this first issue as well. And that is something that I noticed throughout the series. It's action, 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 action. I didn't realize how much action The Rise of Skywalker actually has. And very little dialogue, funny enough. So, yeah, I found that interesting. Overall, first issue, not a bad issue at all. Again, this comic cover, I mean, let's just take a second to appreciate it. Like, seeing it on the shelves in my comic shop was just surreal, because I've been seeing this comic for years, you know, being like, when are we gonna get it? People excited about it, especially our community getting excited about it, and we finally got it, and it's just crazy to even own a copy of it with that cover. So I am very thankful for that. Let's move on to issue 2. Issue 2. All right, so issue 2 is basically Chewie's fake out death on Pisana to Finn and Poe on the Steadfast. Yes, that is the name of the ship. Pretty sure. It's really interesting. So Rey's and Kylo's fight on Pisana is visually really freaking cool. And I really like how she has the flip over the TIE fighter. Like, that's freaking sick. I do think that Adam Driver adds so much to Kylo Ren, and I will not shut up about that. He just absolutely, like, does it for me. With his character, and makes Kylo, like, feel like a real person. Funny enough, with the comic adaptations, Kylo doesn't, he comes off really creepy. Really, really creepy, and it's really interesting because it's also showing his thoughts about it. There is one line where I was just like, Kylo, you can't say that. It has, like, little black boxes, and he's like, I could feel it from here. Her fear, her anger. Let's see what happens when she's really punished. Kylo, I'd be serious about that? Like, sir, come on. One of the reasons I like Rise of Skywalker, because it really does show Kylo as evil, but I feel like it's Adam's maybe worst acting in that trilogy. He gives such a... that's like a whole separate video of me talking about Kylo Ren as a character. But long story short, like, I feel like in the movie he didn't even come off creepy. Like, it was more just sad. And it came off just defeated and just bored. In this comic run, he comes off really, really freaking creepy. Not only to Rey, but, like, the rest of High Command. And he's in his own little world. Which kind of sucks. I wish, like, you would see, or the writers would take a little bit more care with his character, because this is the movie that he turns back to the light. Again, one of the arguments of Rise of Skywalker is we didn't see enough of Kylo Ren, like, feeling bad about anything to where his switch to Ben Solo made sense. I think The Last Jedi, like, if you went from Last Jedi to then Ben Solo turning, it would make so much sense. Because he was ultimately defeated, right? Like, it's hard because part of me is like, Ben Solo makes sense, like, returning back to the light. And then, like, after The Last Jedi, like, that was it for Kylo. Like, he was now on to the dark side. Like, Rey left him, Luke killed himself, so Kylo didn't even get the feel of, like, actually killing Luke. Hux was gonna betray him. Snoke is dead. Like, he has no one. And, like, it makes sense him being super evil and, like, creepy in The Rise of Skywalker, because he's just over it and done. But then, why does that switch up make sense for then him just going to the light as Ben Solo? And we'll talk more about the Han scene and the Leia scene. Don't go to the comments and yell at me. Trust me, we'll get there. I just think it's interesting of, like, Kylo Ren is evil. We know that. He is not a good person. Yes, he has flaws. Yes, he has trauma. But that's not an excuse for his behavior. As well as there's a lot of people that wronged him. So, not that it's justified, but the reasons he does this make sense, but then him switching up almost doesn't for me. And it's more obvious in this comic because it doesn't have Adam Driver's acting. Adam Driver made me believe that, okay, Ben Solo actually is back. In this comic, I didn't really believe it. It was just like, almost like a new character got introduced, which really sucks. But that also complements Adam Driver's acting skills of that he really could do that. So that was always nice. There's a dark Rey and Kylo portrait. How they draw Rey and Kylo in this comic series is just beautiful. Raylos, I hope you're all happy. This comic series was for you. It really, really does show their connection and the dyad, and just their connection as people is really interesting and beautifully drawn, quite honestly. So if I was Raylo, I'd be really happy about what we were getting in these comics, because it was pretty spicy and pretty good. Okay. We are then on Kijimi. Love Kijimi. Not a huge fan of Zori Bliss. That's mainly because of what she kind of did to Poe in one of the, I think it was a book or it was a comic. I think it was a book. How she kind of just abused him and just was very manipulative. Which sucks for someone like Poe, because it's kind of like, okay, I get it, she was like an old fling, but like, bro, that's not a healthy relationship. Like, go with Finn, like, please. And also, I just don't like Poe being a spice runner, which Oscar Isaac has talked about that at length. I don't need to talk about that, but it did not make sense with already so much of this movie being racially charged against these actors. So yeah, they didn't remove that from this comic, so I was just kind of like rolling my eyes the entire time. Kijimi, like, really did not need to happen at all. I feel like it's a cool planet. I love it in Outlaws. But to me, it was just, oh, it's another snowy planet. Oh, this is Poe's ex-girlfriend? Okay. Oh, he's a spice runner and used to do that before his time at the Resistance. I would care why. This doesn't make any difference to how I view him as a person. Yeah, again, I don't like getting mad about movies, but this movie, man, if I'm not having a good day, it just knocks me down. It really does, because there's just so many things I wish was written better with that. C-3PO, when he's getting changed to dark C-3PO and is able to read the Sith thing, he has that line of taking a last look at all my friends. People hated that line too, and I partly didn't care for it just because of how mean Poe and Finn and also kind of Rey was to C-3PO. I don't like how C-3PO was written in the sense of everyone should just be mean to me because I'm over the top. That's people were mean to C-3PO in prequels and the OT, but it wasn't to where they absolutely just hated and were just so annoyed with him. It was just kind of a funny thing. With the sequels, I feel like it was written to where it felt like they legitimately hated him. And I was like, can you not hate on my golden boy? What are we doing? So in this scene, it's honestly really sweet and it made me really emotional. It says I'm taking a look at all my friends, and with Rey, Finn, and Poe, it also has Obi-Wan and Anakin and Han and Luke. Not Anakin. Luke, Obi-Wan, Han, Lando, Chewie, Rey, and R2-D2. And I think that was so special. To even show Obi-Wan there as well was really, really cool. And that scene kind of made it for me. I was like, okay, the writers do know what they're doing. Again, they're kind of shoehorning in, cameos of OT and prequel characters, but at the same time, if it makes sense for the story and for visually, then it makes sense. There's no reason that it wasn't supposed to be there, right? So I'm okay with that. It is just interesting that they took that liberty with it, and I like it. I think it's way better than what the movie is. It's one of the nice things in this comic that I really feel a difference there. Leia gets a really nice scene with Maz, and Leia is just talking about, is it worth it? I've sacrificed so much. All of my friends are dead. Which was really hard to even... I don't know if I could have witnessed that in theaters, of just her being like, my husband's dead, my brother's dead, and she also mentions Holdo, which is so sweet. If you've not read Leia, Princess of Alderaan, her and Holdo go way back. It's not just The Last Jedi. So for me, that was really hard. A hard scene to read. Just because of everything. And it makes me wish that we had that scene. I understand why we didn't. But it's also really sad and really depressing. But I'm happy we had it, at least in here. And it's in our hearts and in our minds. Yeah, the panels are really cool. When they're fighting, they take up entire, pages, so, one page, which I think is really unique and really cool, and something I hadn't seen much in these types of comics, especially looking at... They kind of dived into it with the Legacy of Vader comics, which I will be doing a review on when that issue finishes, because I'm still collecting comics on that. But they did a really good job with this one and how it functions. So overall, this issue wasn't too bad. Again, it left us on the steadfast. So I knew the next scene was going to be the next scene. So I was like, oh my god, I can't wait. But yeah, that kind of kept me with this comic run. Because again, it's not fair of me to say, because they still need to be canon. These comics are canon, so they can't contradict what happened in the movies, but part of me does want them to, but that's just fan fiction at that point. And in fan comics, which I love fan comics. Don't get me wrong. I should also do an episode on that, talking about fan comics and how that talks about fandom, because it's great, but it also creates a higher expectation of actual canon stuff that gets produced by the company, to where you're just like, why isn't it like this thing made by a fan? And it's because, well, that's not canon. And it's made by a fan. So, yeah, that was issue 2, and now on to issue 3. So issue 3 is our Finpo cover with Little Jaina, and honestly, I love this cover already. I was just like, yes, give it to me. With this one, if I can get my notes to work, it is the I'm the Spy scene to the Battle of Keflar, which is, of course, the Death Star ruins. Yeah, you already know I'm gonna rant about how they did this scene, because it's good and it's also bad. Like, this issue 3 is where this series starts to go downhill in pacing and in writing, as well as visuals. I don't know what happened, as well as maybe that's just the Rise of Skywalker. I'm sorry, that was a little much, but it really feels like it just starts to go nowhere and everywhere at the same time. And it's, not only is it confusing, but it's a lot for the reader. And it's like, okay, this is already issue 3. Like, are we going to have enough issues for 5 issues? Like, it's like they're cramming everything in, but at the same time, it's like they're drawing everything out. I don't even know how to explain it. It's just, it is a nothing burger with scenes in the middle that make sense. It just, I don't know. I don't know. Again, this is where the movie started to go downhill. Not because I'm the spy. That is not the point I'm making. I promise. They drew Hux like a badass in here, which I love. That is the scene. He looks freaking sick. Which, again, cannot complain. Y'all know how I love this scene. It makes sense for his character. I love it. The rest of the fandom hates me for it, but I love it. It is one of my favorite things, where they made him not only a Tarkin character, but they made him something more. And to have actually done something good for the rebellion based upon pettiness, which that's what our real world does today. People do things so it benefits them. Not because it's for better, but sometimes it does help people that are trying to make a difference, which is very interesting. Again, people just thought it was a stupid scene, but I see through the lies of the Jedi. Another panel with Ochi. Ochi has been so prevalent in this comic series. We get it. Ochi killed Rey's parents. We get it. Ochi is not that cool of a character, guys. Get over it. And also, I'm just remembering, Babu Frick was not in last issue. They killed Babu Frick. No, they did not. They just did not show him. That's kind of interesting. He was like everyone's glow up shitto. Huh. Damn. So this comic series really does suck. No Babu Frick? Seriously? Damn. Okay. That actually just really made me mad. Why would they take out Babu Frick? Why would they do that? That's interesting. Okay. Watch, he'll be in like one little tiny scene, and then I'm gonna get comments and being like, he's in there, like you didn't check properly. I'm sorry. I just don't. I care, but not about Babu Frick. Yeah, again, Ochi is just so prevalent in this thing, and it's just like, why? Like, I don't know why. But that's okay, because he killed Rey's parents, so that is something. This is where this comic starts to really jump around, and I can't remember if this is how it is in the actual movie, or if it's just in the comic, but y'all, I got a lot to do. Like, it's, when I'm rewatching the movie, like, that's just 2 hours of my life. I don't know if I can get back. And I hate saying that. Y'all know I like keeping positive on this channel, but this movie makes me like actively think about production of movies and like where it went wrong and how it went wrong. Yeah, so it has the Hux scene. Again, beautifully drawn. My baby boy, when he's drawn alone or like as a center of attention, they really try to like draw him the best, which, yay, thank you. I appreciate it. Finn shoots him, and yeah, so he just shoots him, and then they go, which is totally fine. That's how it is in the movie. Rey and Palpatine parallels, amazing. What I thought was really interesting, too, is, like, there's a lot, starting from this issue, there's a lot of parallels between Leia and Kylo, which I think is really interesting. And I think that was a setup for when she does die, which is fine if they want to do that. Like, I think visually, again, comics add a visual aid, and I think doing that makes it easier to stomach in her death a little bit and like draws that connection for Kylo. Yeah, Kylo's still coming off creepy, but you know, I mean, he's pulling it through. Okay, one scene I did not like, yeah, this is the scene, is where Kylo compares his mother Leia to Rey's father. What? So, Leia, daughter of Vader, right? And Rey, her father, son of Palpatine. That's what you drew from Kylo? That one thing? Are we serious? Why? But, like, why would you compare your general, rebel hero, last princess of Alderaan mother to some clone? That sounded bad. I'm not talking about clones and, like, clone troopers, but in some Palpatine clone. Like, I'm sorry, Leia. He knows not what he says. Like, why are you comparing this amazing woman to this guy that we've never met? What? So, yeah. And, like, yeah, I don't know. I did not like that dialogue. And I know there's something akin to that in the actual Rise of Skywalker, but I don't think he blatantly says, like, my mother was the daughter of Vader, your father was the son of the Emperor. Like, I don't think he actively says that or mentions Leia, which I think is better. Do not mention Leia. Like, dude. Yeah, anyway, that scene kind of pissed me off, too, because I'm like, you're not comparing Leia, our amazing princess, to some no-name that we know nothing about. So, and it's like, if I really want to take a deep dive on this and think of it positively, I think it's Kylo grasping at straws at this point of being like, we still have a connection, like, and all of that. But I think at the end, like, Rey sees through the lies, I think, and I think Kylo's lying to himself, I think, at that point, too. And, like, he's like, you know what you need to do. And then she's like, I do. And it's like, that is one thing I don't like about Kylo, I think, start of The Last Jedi, is he starts to feel like almost a secondary character to Rey, because he's always vibing for her, which is unfortunate, because then Rey, people that see Rey, like, belittle her and say that, oh, well, your story only makes sense because of Kylo. And it's like, no, it doesn't. Like, she is such a, I won't say stronger character, because there are issues with her just backstory, and that's not her fault. That's just the writer's fault, to where she doesn't really know who she wanted. But with, especially this comic adaptation, Rey and Kylo being so interconnected is a great thing, but it's also a really bad thing, because there's no separation between the two. And now you're just writing characters to one-up each other's story in the way of uplifting each other's story. So you're not really writing them as singular characters. You're writing them with the thoughts of how does this impact the other character, which is not good. Don't do that. As a writer, don't, like, I'm guilty of this all the time. I'll write certain scenes with characters or certain characters doing dialogue to impact the other character. And you could argue that moves the story along, right? But you shouldn't always have to do that. And I feel like in The Rise of Skywalker, that's all they're doing. Everything that Rey does actively is impacting Kylo. Everything that Kylo does is actively impacting Rey. And again, that could be with the dyad type thing, which is fine. But I also think there's another layer to it, to where, why are we doing these things? So, yeah, very, very interesting. Oh, yeah. So, let's talk about Hux's death, because you knew it was coming. You knew I was going to talk about my blurbo. I don't like it. I don't like how they did his death. So, for one, it doesn't even show the scene of him coming in and being like, they overpowered me. They did, like, it's such a theatrics that I think Donald Gleason does, and it's so freaking funny. It's also sad because he's about to get killed. But it is really funny just how he kind of runs and skips onto the bridge, and Pride's just like, I'm gonna shoot this kid. And we get none of that in this. And quite honestly, even if it was like over the top in this comic, I would have preferred seeing him legit shot. Like, he just got no love for his death in this comic at all, which is really weird. Like, thank you, JJ, I guess, for, like, showing my favorite character get actually killed on screen. And that's another crazy thing, too. Another little lore tidbit is that in an interview, Donald Gleason didn't know if his character was going to get killed off screen. They had filmed it, but he didn't know if it was going to get cut or not, which I find really interesting, and I'm happy it did not. I could not even imagine how they did it like this, where his body's just in the back. It's, like, not even being taken by, like, any troopers. Kylo says, prepare my ship. Of course, Supreme Leader. This is Pride. Of course, Supreme Leader. And the traitor has been found and executed. It was Hux. And then Kylo says, I'm sure the Emperor will be pleased. My ship. Why will the Emperor be pleased? I have two theories for this. One is my personal favorite, but I'll go with the lore accurate one first. Basically, Palpatine wanted, like, the old Empire back. And I think Hux was standing in his way for that. He was the new generation, the new First Order generation, and was kind of stopping the Sith fleet from reaching their max power. Kylo didn't care at all. Again, this is why I'm kind of pissed off with Kylo in TROS. He doesn't care about anything. He literally only cares about Rey and getting the girl, and cares nothing about the First Order. And besides abusing Hux, like, just doesn't even care about him, and, like, puts Pride and the Sith fleet in top command, and, like, actively belittling Hux, as well as, like, almost killing himself, basically, by putting the high command kind of over the top of him, because now they're just going to do Palpatine's bidding. So they're not coming to you anymore, Kylo. Now it's just over on Palpatine. So Palpatine now has all the power, and Kylo's just his little errand boy. And it's always interesting of, like, the politics of it that people don't really digest and dissect, because it's important. And I think with that would be why Palpatine is really pleased. My thing is, like, my personal theory is that, like, Palpatine knew that Hux was a spy, but was, like, letting him give as much information as he could until it was, like, time to seize the moment. Again, that doesn't really make sense with, like, Poe and Finn coming in and that type of last resort type thing, but I think Palpatine had an idea that it was Hux, and, like, I don't know, my clone Palpatine Hux theory is still in the brain, working. Hire me, Lucasfilm. I will change your lives. The best Star Wars show ever. Best twist. It's not gonna happen, but that's my own little theory, because that's all I have. That he ends. his life ends in issue 3. So, yeah, they didn't do a good job with it, but it's okay. I'm grasping at straws here. There's not much more that I could get out of that, but what are you gonna do? Yep. And then Rose gets the tiniest scene with Leia. Again, not anything big. I really like the Jana. Jana? I think it's Jana. Jana visuals with Finn, to where they're talking about the Stormtrooper program and that she was taking just as he was, and how it actually shows her with her squadron and her taking off the helmet. Like, that tiny little visual just adds so much more connection that I have with her, that I feel tied to it. They didn't really dive much into the theory of, like, that she's Lando's daughter. I don't like that theory at all. Like, not all black characters are related. I think that was a really big issue with the fandom of taking that story and just rolling with it, because she had, like, one scene with Lando. I don't like that. For one, I want her to be her own. I think it'd be super cool if she was, but I don't think that should be the main focus of her character, as well as, like, lore-wise, how does that make sense? And should we be going there for that? Like, oh, well, if she has ties to Lando, or she has Lando's blood, like, she's important. And, like, I don't think that's what we should be rolling with, in a sense. Characters should be important because of the stories that they tell, not because of the blood that they hold, or the name that they hold. So, I love Jaina a lot. I think she was okay in the film. I liked her more in the comics that came out afterwards, and then in this one again, like, she just seems like she's Finn's support, honestly, here, which I really like, because Finn was getting no support from Rey, which again pisses me off about this goddamn movie. Is just Finn is trying to tell her something, and Rey's just like, Finn, I just have so much more important things to focus on. And, like, yes, Rey, you do, I understand that, but this is your best friend since the first movie. You give him the time of day. Like, stop freaking chasing Kylo Ren. Seriously. It really does piss me off, because Finn does not deserve that, and Finn didn't deserve a lot in this movie, quite honestly. Here's another panel that I want to show you guys that I just absolutely love how the art is done. It is like a cross panel, and it is the fight between Rey and Dark Rey. It is super, super sick, and just how they did that visually, and, like, they flipped a couple of them, so you gotta kind of, like, turn the page. It's sick. I like it. I like when comics take that feeling and visual farther, a little bit farther than they need to. And it's those little things where I'm like, okay, it's worth it. But let's hop on to issue 4. So issue 4 of The Rise of Skywalker, basically, Leia doubts, that the battle's gonna work, and basically is, like, on her last breath, does die, and then it leads to the Battle of Exegol. This is my least favorite issue of when I was reading it back, which I think was interesting. I think Leia's death scene is cool. I want to show another visual. Again, this comic does great in visuals. I mean, it takes up the whole page. Like, with the lightsabers, that's freaking sick. A lot of just fighting in this comic. Leia showing up, I think was done okay. I think it was the best that they could have done. I don't know how much more it would have worked, quite honestly. But that's just my opinion. Yeah, I think it's, like, Rey's death, Leia's death is so interesting in just how it's done. Again, I don't think it could have been done any better. But it does lead to Han. Again, this comic is jumping around. We go literally from the Battle of Kepler to then the back at the Resistance base with Poe. Then we jump back to Kepler to Han and Kylo. Then we jump back to the Resistance for 2 pages. Then we jump back to Kepler. It's like, what the frick? Can we get all of the scenes with Han and Kylo on, like, it's a matter of 3 pages, right? Can we get them all consecutively together? Like, you're not gonna confuse your audience. Like, there's no back and forth talking here. Like, it is so frustrating to me. Just the pacing of this. It's like, there is no need that you need to be jumping back and forth that often and that quickly. There's no need. No need whatsoever. And yeah, it really does piss me off. So that's why this was my least favorite issue. I was already like, oh, the Han scene, so... Oh, no, it still continues. Like... I don't get it. I don't get it. And it really... Y'all, I'm on my last life, and this is only issue 4. We still got issue 5 to go through. One thing I do like is there is a beautiful Lando visual with the squad. God, that glare is terrible. For Return of the Jedi. And I, like, such a good scene. Like, I feel so bad for Lando, quite honestly. All of his friends are dead. Besides Chewbacca. Like, I also feel bad for Chewie as well. Like, Chewbacca has lost Han, has lost Leia, has lost Ben Solo, too. Like, both Lando and Chewie. It's terrible. And, like, I like the scene with Poe where he's like, how did you guys do it? Like, how did you guys win the first time? And, like, Lando was like, we had each other and stuff. And, like, that's a beautiful scene, but also, like, Rey is off doing her own thing, and Finn and Poe are left to, like, handle the Resistance and Rose. And it's kind of like, they're not together, though. And, like, granted, Luke was kind of on his own, too, in Return of the Jedi, kind of going through that with Vader, and it kind of made sense that he was separated from the group, but I don't know. It just, like, Rey is so disconnected in this movie, and it's only to add something to Kylo's character. Again, it goes back to my previous point. It just feels like everything that Rey does is to impact Kylo. The Rey and Luke scene was good. I think it was pretty basic. Again, skips around from Rey with Luke, and then it goes to Finn and Poe, and then Rey with Luke. Come on, guys. Like, can we just have it consistent? I don't think that's gonna bug anyone else if it's looks different in the movie. It just doesn't make much sense. I do think that the X-Wing, I almost said TIE Fighter, X-Wing visual, like, Luke lifting it up, I think was okay. Like, it felt like they didn't want to spend much time on this visual, even though it's so important to the character. And it was just really, really quick panels. I don't know. It just didn't feel like it was genuine. The entire Resistance crew kind of coming together, getting ready for the Battle of Exegol. And, like, the entire Battle of Exegol is issue 5. I don't know if it needed a full issue, but whatever. I like the Battle of Exegol just as is. I think it is... Oh, here's the cover, by the way. We love seeing a little bit of Ben... That's Rey. Ben Solo. There he is. I hate the reflection on here. I never know which way I'm pointing. Yeah. Battle of Exegol is okay. I think it does what it needs to, and I think visual-wise, it's really freaking cool. I can't even deny that. Like, seeing all, like, the Sith fleet, that's sick. I can't hate it. I really forgot how blue everything was in the third act. I kind of remember, like, Rise of Skywalker being really gray and drabby, but just this entire comic, if you just flip through the pages, it's all blue. It's all blue tones, which, again, visually, that's kind of cool, in a comic form, but now I remember in the movie, it was just so dark and blue. Ben Solo and Rey, visual is really cool. I think they did it well overall. I think Palpatine looks sick and menacing. Trying to see where it was. Yeah, just how they're together, and like it really does show the dyad, I think, more than the movie could have shown. So it was good. The Be With Me scene was honestly sick. Again, it's just fighting and fighting and fighting. There's not much dialogue here until like Rey and Kylo, of course, die. Palpatine shoots him with his laser. Okay, the Be With Me scene. That's like the major scene that like everyone was posting on Twitter that was like made this comic series worth it. It is absolutely gorgeous. It has all of the prequel Jedi, and here's some major ones. It's got Qui-Gon, which I think was great. I think a great addition. Obi-Wan, Luke, Anakin, Kit Fisto, Plo Koon, there it is, Mace Windu, Alara Secura, Yoda. Like, there's also kind of alluded to Ahsoka back there, which is exciting. Ki-Adi-Mundi, that was also another one. This visual, like, if they would have had that in the movie, bro, I do think it would have helped a lot of people being like, no, but it was still, like, good. I don't know. Star Wars fandom is so weird with the sequels of, like, they could have probably done anything and they would have still hated it. Because it was female-led, but I think the scene should have been in the movie. Yes, it would have been just a blatant, like, visual of, like, the OG cast, and, like, it would have just been put in there for profit, but it looks freaking sick. It looks really, really nice. Yeah. I don't know, man. This comic adaptation broke me. It really did. Rereading it and, like, seeing the Reylo kiss, y'all know how I feel about that. I'm not really going to talk about it much in this comic. I feel like I don't need to, and I don't want to poke that bear. I don't. Yeah, it hurts, man. Having not only one of your favorite characters die, but also two, as well as, like, just, I don't know if the kiss was necessary. I don't. That's just me, though. There's not much more. We get to see Pride explode, though, so 10 out of 10 for me. This comic series was amazing. No. We get one little small panel of Rey, Finn, and Poe hugging, and that's it. Oh, and the lesbians. Excuse me. They had to add in the lesbians because, God forbid. It's so funny, guys. It's just, they're right in there, and it's like, there they are. I love my lesbians, but really, come on, guys. Like, we could have done maybe another panel of, like, the entire... I don't know, man. It's just, like, it felt like at the end of this, they were just like, we're done. We're just gonna put whatever visuals on there. I do think Rey on Tatooine and, like, with BB-8, I think that's still one of the best scenes in The Rise of Skywalker and everything. I know a lot of people have issues with that scene. I don't freaking care. I think it's good. Oh, man, dude. This comic destroyed me mentally. Writing my notes of just, like, why did they do this? But the visuals are nice, though. But also, why did they jump around? But also, visuals are good. But also, I don't know why I'm reading this. It's like... So, yeah. This one was really rough. Y'all know I like to be positive. But I also want to be realistic with you guys of, like... When I'm doing a review, I want you guys to know if it's worth it for you to buy this. If it's worth it for you to be collecting these comics. I would say yeah, but if you don't like The Rise of Skywalker, I would say not to read them. It's not gonna give you anything more that the movie didn't, maybe besides the Leia scenes, but if so, you can always look those up online. Or if you ever want to see, like, panels, DM me on Twitter. Like, I will absolutely take pictures of certain comics and panels and send them your way, because I want you guys to go out and buy comics, but I also realize, like, yes, they're $5, but, like, this entire series was $25, not including the extra comic covers that I got, because sometimes I got duplicates of different variant covers. So in total, I think I got 2 separate variant covers. So $35, so, which is not bad. Don't get me wrong. Comics are affordable, but I'm not gonna have everyone spend $35 on a comic series that I don't think it's worth it. So yeah, there's good things in this, but y'all, this just makes me not want to rewatch The Rise of Skywalker and review it. Like, that's kind of how I feel. Which, again, it sucks. I want to know why you guys like The Rise of Skywalker and why people like it, because I still have yet to, like, find someone give me like a full-on straight answer that's not just like a YouTube person that just absolutely hates on it. I just haven't really found good videos talking about Rise of Skywalker. I've had good videos talking about Rey and Rey as a character. My point still stands of, like, she is brought down by Kylo's story. Absolutely. And I think that at the end of the day, her being a Palpatine was to only have that parallel between Kylo. I don't think there's any other reason why she was a Palpatine. But, yeah, guys. I'm sorry. I tried to be as positive as I can with this video, but it was rough. But I am very excited to review the Legacy of Vader comics, because those are good. Those are really, really good comics that actually characterize Kylo really well. And it's really interesting looking into his psyche, as well as my boy is in it. Let's go! He's in, like, a lot of issues as well. Well, he has issues, but he's in a lot of, I think he's in, like, 4 or 5 right now, and we're on 7. So that consistency is pretty good. So, and also he looks amazing in those comics. So I am very excited to review those. I just wanted to review this because it was very recent that came out, and I feel like you guys should be knowing what is happening. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for sticking with me and hearing me rant, and seeing me emote with it. I'm still trying to get used to this video thing and, like, look straight in the camera. I have 2 monitors, which y'all probably know because I'm reading off of that one. So it's a little hard to know where I'm supposed to be looking, as well as, like, if I need to change a tab, like, my camera goes away. It's an entire mess. So I gotta kind of work that stuff out, but overall, I'm excited. I have a lot of big things coming up, and I'm a little worried that there might be issues with scheduling, and I don't know when I'm gonna get videos out. So I'm a little nervous about that, but I want to be here for you guys, and I want to at least review the Rise of, not the Rise of Kylo Ren, I keep saying the Rise of Kylo Ren, the Legacy of Vader. It probably won't be like this format, because this is way too long. Going through each issue, there's going to be, I think, 12 issues for Legacy of Vader. So I will just be doing a full-on review and then doing some talking points. But I will be talking about it in a general sense. I will not be going through each issue and doing that, unless you guys want that. And it will be broken up into multiple videos. But comment below if you want it, because I'll do it. I also know, like, this format of going through each issue and me kind of rehashing points it gets tedious after a while. So I respect your guys' time. And I don't want it to be too long and me talking about Hux for an hour and a half, because I will. But much love, guys. Thank you so much for sticking with me. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.